Welcome, I'm Katie. I'm your host for today's adoption fair. I'm a Mickaboo volunteer, just like Megan and all the other people presenting and producing today's event. Before we begin, let me tell you just a little bit about Mickaboo Companion Bird Rescue. We are a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to education about the care of companion birds and to their rescue and adoption. We are a virtual volunteer-based organization with approximately 450 birds in our care. We have no paid staff and rely on donations to be able to serve the birds. The vast majority of our expenses are related to their care and range from $45,000 to $55,000 a month. There are a couple of reasons why these costs are so high. One, newly arrived birds often require medical attention due to previous neglect, failing health, accidents, injury from other pets, or trauma that they accrued during time as strays. Two, some of our birds have chronic medical conditions, and those birds tend to remain in foster care or hospice situations for long periods of time. So if you're able to help, please consider donating. I'll provide information about how to do that at the end of the event. So now let's talk for a minute about the adoption and foster process. So fostering is a volunteer activity, and adoption is, we hope, a permanent process. The same steps qualify you to do both. And if you choose to foster, you can adopt your foster bird. I want to let you know right up front that this is not a super fast process. It's not like going to the shelter and coming home with a pet the same day. Birds are complicated species. They are not mammals. There's a lot to learn, and we'll help you through that process. Right now, the approval process generally takes about 8 to 10 weeks, although it can vary depending on your circumstances. During that time, we will get to know you and your situation, review what we learned carefully, and help you to make an educated decision about what kind of bird is right for you. If at any point during the process you feel like you haven't heard from us, please do reach out. Sometimes things accidentally drop and the reminders are useful. So how does the process go? You see it here on your screen. The first thing is our basic bird care class. Parrots require a lot from their human companions. In this class, we cover behavior, health and well-being, feeding, care, and other topics to ensure that our birds will thrive in your home. We'll touch on some of those topics during today's adoption fair. After you take the class, the next step is to fill out our online application. Once your application is filled out, you'll move on to a phone screen. This is an opportunity for us to better understand you and what you're looking for and your understanding of birds and their care. And because this is a one-on-one phone screen, it's also a great opportunity for you to ask any questions that you might have. After the phone screen, there will be a home visit. It might be virtual and it might be in person. Whether it's in person or online, the home visit itself is the same. It's not meant to be some kind of a white glove test or inspection of your home and your lifestyle. The point is to understand whether your home is ready to be a safe environment for a bird, perhaps to point out any areas for improvement for safety, and also to find the best place where you might want to put a cage, a play stand, just general coaching on the things that you will need to do in terms of your environment to be successful in adopting a bird. Currently, this is the part of the process that takes the longest to coordinate, and you can expect to wait up to 6 weeks for your home visit in some cases. Whether it's in person or an online home visit, after it's completed, the whole package of your application, your phone screen, and your home visit is sent off to our approvals board for review. Once you're approved, you'll be put in contact with the species coordinator for your first choice of species. And that person can work with you to find a bird or birds that are a good match for you. You'll be able to talk with the foster parent for the bird you're interested in, maybe meet the bird over Zoom, maybe meet the bird in person before making a decision. The specific arrangements at this point will depend on what you and the foster home are comfortable with and what's feasible, perhaps depending on your geographic locations. Today, we're going to meet 10 Mickaboo birds who are seeking forever homes. First, Willow, an African gray. Second, Thea and Danielle, 2 Mickaboo budgies. 3rd, Angel, a Goffins Cockatoo. 4th, Oatmeal, a green sheep conure. And yes, you will find out where he got that curious name. And lastly, a set of 5 Mickaboo budgies. Most of these birds will join us live on camera, but Thea and Danielle and Angel the Cockatoo will join us via pre-recorded videos. As we go, a reminder of what Megan had told you before. If you have any questions, you can type them into the Q&A tab in Zoom or comment on Facebook, and we'll answer your questions as we go. Now, let's meet the first bird of the day. Hi, Megan. Can you introduce us to your foster bird?
Hi, Katie. Yes, I apologize. It took me a second to get on camera. Willow just decided to climb up on my head. So that's where we have her right now. And this is Willow, the Congo African gray parrot.
You're a literal bird brain today. Do we know if Willow is male or female, or anything about how old they are?
We think that Willow is a female. Oh, where'd you going? I'm gonna have to grab her, sorry.
That's
we
okay.
think Willow is a female. The vet checked her out briefly and thinks based off her bone structure that she's likely a female, but we've not had a blood or DNA test done. And Willow's about 12 years old. Which is pretty young. African grays can go to about 60, so she's a young bird.
I can see she looks just a little bit nervous, the way her feathers are close to her body and her wings up, but she also looks very curious.
Yes, she's a little bit nervous right now, I think, because of the movement that just happened here. But Willow is a very friendly and curious bird. She loves to check out everything in her surrounding environment. That's what she's doing right now, is looking all around to see what she can get into.
I can see she's looking in every direction, checking everything out. So one of the first questions I always like to ask is this bird tame? And I could see that Willow is to some degree. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Yeah, Willow is pretty hand tame. She'll step up to hands when she wants to. We'll see if she'll step up here right now. Oh, there we go. So she'll step up to hands when she wants to, and she'll always step up to a perch for anybody. And Willow, you probably saw a little bit ago, she did fly. She can fly a little bit, but her preferred way to get around is to walk and have somebody pick her up. And now, of course, she's going to go on my head again. That is her favorite place to be, is up on top of my head.
Aw. She does look very pleased with herself to be up there. And I see her looking around again. Yeah, just taking everything in.
Yes.
So that's really great that she has those skills to be able to step up for anyone onto a perch and some things like that. How does she do with children? Oh, there she goes again.
Let me bring her back in frame. Come on, Willow. You are everywhere today. So Willow, I don't have any kids here. But she was able, I had my 5-year-old niece visiting, and she was able to hand Willow a pumpkin seed, and Willow took that really gently from her. I wouldn't have kids by themselves with Willow unsupervised, and definitely not anybody who is fast-paced if they're not able to slow down. That wouldn't be a good idea, but she was really gentle with my niece, so I think she could do okay with kids.
Okay, that's great. What does Willow like to eat besides pumpkin seeds?
Willow is a fantastic eater. She loves food. The primary part of her diet right now is K-Tech oven fresh bites, which are a type of pellet, and then Supreme veggie blend pellets. Those are the 2 pellets she's on, and she loves them. She'll dunk the veggie pellets in water. And then Willow loves chopped. She's really great at eating her fresh veggies and fruit. She loves edamame. She likes romaine. She likes corn. She likes papaya, all sorts of things. She's a great eater.
Got it. And a reminder to our audience that you can type your questions into the Q&A box and into comment on the Facebook live stream. Can you define chop a little bit? I don't know that everyone in our audience will be familiar with.
Yeah, it's really good for birds to have fresh food in their diet. So a chop is just some veggies and fruit that are chopped up and put in a bowl for them to eat. So we give her a variety of different fruit and veggie every day to try.
Okay. What's she eating there right now?
Yeah, she's eating a pistachio right now. I gave her a shelled pistachio.
Yum. What are some of Willow's typical behaviors?
Willow is very, very, very interactive. She loves to come out of her cage and play with us. She loves to be, whatever we're doing, she wants to be there and be a part of it. She is really good with playing with toys. She plays with all sorts of toys. A lot of Mickaboo birds love this little rose bouquet, and she loves that. She loves hardwood toys. She loves a good variety of toys, and she'll play a lot. She's actually in my office right now is where her cage is. So she gets a ton of out time, and she'll usually play up on the play stand on top of her cage for a bit. And then once she gets bored with that, she'll climb down to the ground and walk over to me and ask to be picked up and given attention.
So she gets around all different ways. She'll walk, she'll climb, she'll fly.
Yeah, absolutely. She definitely prefers to walk. Flying is a last resort usually.
Got it. We do have a couple of audience questions. How is Willow around other birds?
So Willow just got out of quarantine in my house. When you bring a new bird in, you're supposed to quarantine them for 6 weeks just because they do hide illnesses. So she now is able to go hang out with the birds in my bird room. She seems interested in my other birds. I don't allow them to obviously interact. They're different species, but she seems very interested in the other birds. She's not bothered by them at all.
And another audience question, does she talk?
Yes, Willow does talk, but not on command. And she's really excellent at mimicking and imitating sounds and words that she hears. So my partner every morning when he wakes her up will say, "Hey, baby." And she now says, "Hey, baby," back to him. She says her name, Willow. She knows how to say Willow. And she'll also say "good bird," but those aren't on command. And I've heard her say other things, but I've not yet deciphered what they were. But I think she can say quite a few words. And she, as I said, is really fantastic at imitating. She learns really quickly.
Great. And to the audience member who asked that question, hold that thought, because when we get to the end of this segment with Willow, we're actually going to get to hear some of the things that she says. Maybe she'll speak live on camera, but if she doesn't, you're going to get a chance to hear her in a little bit. How did Willow come to Mickaboo?
So Willow came to Mickaboo from an animal control in Colusa County. I'm trying to flip her around so you guys can see more than just her back, even though that red tail is really pretty. So she came from animal. Oh, thank you, Willow. That's right. She came from animal control in Colusa County. Her and 3 other birds were surrendered to animal control along with some other exotics. And they reached out to Mickaboo, and we had them quickly stop by one of our vets to get checked out. And then they got landed in foster homes across the bay. And you can probably hear Willow now. She is very shrill with that screaming right now. Hi, sweet girl. Will you step up?
Nope.
There we go.
Oh, good girl.
What a good girl.
Hi, baby. We have another audience question, and this is one that definitely is worth a thoughtful discussion. In general, could Willow cohabit with a cat if introduced very carefully? And I'll start by saying many animal lovers have multiple species of animals. It just takes a lot of careful monitoring and keeping physically apart. But do we have any sense about Willow and cats in particular?
Yeah, I actually have a house full of pets. We have 4 cats here, but they are always kept separately from Willow. Doors are closed. They're not allowed access to her. She has seen them, like when she's walking on my shoulder through the house, and hasn't seemed too bothered by them. But yeah, as you mentioned, Katie, I would never let them be unsupervised together. But if you're really careful with the pets in your house, that should be okay. And Mickaboo has tons of volunteers. We can give you that guidance, especially during your home screen, to make sure that works out for you.
Yeah, and that's a good point. That's the kind of thing that we definitely want to see and get to know about you and your household as we're working toward placing birds with you, is all the other pets in your house. And a similar question, how might Willow do with dogs?
I do not know that question. I don't have any dogs here, but I suspect it would be pretty similar. Willow is very curious and not afraid of too much. So I think as long as you introduce them safely, And by introduce, I mean have them in the house safely. Do not ever put your Willow on top of a dog. That would be a no-go.
Oh, no, absolutely. That's really dangerous. And it's really dangerous for the bird, and it could be really distressing, and could even, you know, the dog could get bitten by the bird. It's that's an absolute no-no. Definitely. Does Willow need any special care?
No, Willow doesn't need any special care. She just needs lots of time and attention.
And this is a good question, another audience question. Given that Willow's just come out of quarantine in your household, do you have a sense that how she will bond with a new family, with new parents?
Yeah, I think Willow will do really well with a new family. She's been here for about 7 weeks now. And it took her less than a week to get comfortable with me and my partner. And she is really excellent with when we have friends come by. She's really usually generally willing to step up for them. One thing that we have noticed is Willow does seem to prefer men. She is okay with me and she is comfortable with me. But if a male were to walk in this room right now, she would want nothing to do with me. That person would become her primary interest.
Okay, that's interesting. One more audience question, and then I think we'll get to watching that video. We have an audience member who has a female African gray that they adopted from Mickaboo, and this person is wondering, would Willow be able to be let out at the same time as another African gray?
Yeah, I think so. As long as you're there supervising them, especially at the beginning, I think that would be okay. I have an Amazon in my home and 2 cherry-headed conures. And I take Willow up to my bird room. Obviously, we are supervising her and she's not being placed on any of their cages because birds can be very territorial with their homes. But yeah, I think she would be absolutely fine sharing a room with another African gray. I think she'd get along fine.
Okay, great. So we have heard some little bits of conversation here from Willow. But we now have a short video to watch, I understand, that will show us how Willow vocalizes. But before we actually begin to watch that video, are there any last things you'd like to tell us about Willow?
Well, we already went over what the words she says, but she's just a really fun bird. She loves to take a bath in her cage. She loves to hang upside down in her cage. She is silly, and whenever I'm not with her, I can hear her talking to herself and making sounds to herself. While she's hanging out in the cage on her own. So she can keep herself entertained, but she also would love to entertain you. She's a really, really fun bird and looking for her forever home. So hopefully someone out there watching wants to bring Willow home.
I do hope so. So now just to let the audience know, before we begin to watch this video, after it ends, Megan's going to stay with me and interview me because the next birds we're going to feature are my foster budgies. So now let's watch this video and listen to the things Willow says when she's not on camera. So that was really awesome, very fun to see all those things that Willow does. And that's very common, birds that don't necessarily want to be watched, especially when they're trying out new sounds, and who don't want to speak on camera, just like humans. Some of them do have that preference. So next, we're going to watch some video of my foster budgies, Danielle and Thea.
Yes. So Katie, can you tell us who we're looking at here? Which one is Danielle and which one's Thea in this video?
So in this video, Danielle is now sort of centered behind the swing. She is a lighter green with a bright yellow head, and Thea is in the foreground now. She has a brighter green body And she's just generally the more mellow of the two.
And I've heard you say she for both of them. How can we tell the sex of a budgie?
Yeah, so budgies very conveniently are color-coded, shall we say. They're cere, which is the little fleshy part right above the beak of all parrots. In budgies, in adult males, it is typically blue. And in adult females who have sort of high reproductive hormone levels, it is a brick red color. And so looking at these two birds, it's a little hard to see on camera, but if you're looking right at them, you can tell by looking at them that they are both adult females and that spring is springing and they have fairly high hormone levels.
Got it. That is pretty funny that they have the typical colors we associate with genders for their seres.
It's very weird. I'm sure that that's for their own biological reasons that have nothing to do with humans, but it does make it really easy to remember.
Yes, that's a super easy way to remember. Can you tell us how old they are and how did they come to Mickaboo?
So we don't know how old these two birds are, but we're guessing that they're probably both under 2. I'd guess that Danielle might even be under 1 just because she's incredibly playful. And like a lot of animals and humans, younger birds do tend to be more playful. Danielle was a stray found by a very nice person who then got another budgie companion for her, a young male budgie. And Danielle and Jack, who's also available for adoption, although not featured here, set about making a nest and laying eggs. But the person got a little more educated about the number of budgies and just parrots in general looking for homes, realized that this wasn't really good for Danielle's health or just for the number. There are so many birds already looking for homes. So they contacted Mickaboo and surrendered Danielle and Jack. Thea came to Mickaboo as a stray bird who was brought into one of our Bay Area animal shelters. And she initially had an infection called avian gastric yeast, which is can be serious, but is also very easily treatable with oral medications. So Danielle went to the vet to make sure that her calcium levels were not depleted from all the eggs she'd laid. And Thea went to the vet for her avian gastric yeast. They've both been treated and declared healthy.
That's awesome. I've got a few more questions about that, but I first want to ask, who are we seeing take this bath? And can you tell us a little bit more about this behavior we're watching?
This is Danielle, and Danielle loves an epic bath. She prefers her bath to be not in a large quantity of water. She likes some greens, leafy greens that she may also later snack on that are just damp, and she likes to roll around in them the way you're seeing. And even though there's hardly any water in that dish, as we watch her, as this video goes on, you're going to see her get soggier and soggier. So this is combination entertainment, bathing, and possibly food all in one here.
Too cute. How adorable. So I know you mentioned that Danielle had a potential possibility that she was trying to breed in her former home. Can you tell us a little bit of how we can prevent that from happening, or what steps a adopter could take to prevent that from happening in their home?
Yeah, and I'm going to be telling you all this with a new level of humility. I have fostered somewhere between 30 and 50 budgies for Mickaboo over about 10 years. And Danielle is the first one who I've had come to my home and then lay eggs. So she has laid more eggs since she went to the vet last fall. We've got her back out of that behavior again. For Danielle, and these are generally good practices for all budgies and really for a lot of parrots. Limiting daylight hours. So her cage is in our living room. And we're being really disciplined about covering the cage, turning off the lights, leaving the room every night so that she gets 12 hours of darkness. That's benefiting all of our other budgies as well, of course. Limiting her food to just like a good amount of her nutritious base diet, which is nutrient cakes, and then, as you know, vegetables really as much as she wants. My 4-year-old, who walked past at the beginning of the video, loves giving our foster birds millet snacks, but we've completely cut that out. And right now we've actually added the extra step of making sure that Danielle does not come out of the cage at all, because she was going around our living room and searching for places that might be nest-like. So she was looking behind the orchid pot and trying to see if she could crawl back behind picture frames, just anything she could do. She was just very much seeking a nesty spot. So once we got disciplined, we as the humans, in limiting her millet treat, making sure that she gets to bed on time every night, making sure that she doesn't even look into a spot that might make a good nest, she stopped laying eggs once again. So it takes some work, it takes some discipline, but you can generally control parrot hormones. There are also medications that interrupt the hormonal cycle that you can use. We have a lot of things in our toolbox that we'll share with particularly anyone who adopts Danielle, because we think she's young. She's already now been through 2 bouts of laying eggs. That's a lot of calcium out of her body into eggshells. And we will help you to keep her healthy by preventing this as much as possible going forward.
Thank you for sharing that, Katie. And that's something that we encounter frequently with birds, is hormonal issues. It's one of the really common things that we see in our companion birds. So can you tell us a little more? Do Thea and Danielle, do they need to be adopted together, or could they go to separate homes?
They can go to separate homes. They get along. They're not super best friends. I actually have 4 foster female budgies now, and I've tried pairing them up in different configurations. Oh, look, there Thea's having a little snack of mustard greens now. They get along, but they aren't super attached to each other. I would recommend that they both, and most especially Danielle, go to homes where they will be in female only flocks. I'm managing that in my home by having a cage of boy budgies and a cage of girl budgies, and the 2 shall never meet. But that's not practical for all homes. So really, I think Danielle will be healthiest in a home where she's in a single sex flock with other female budgies.
That makes sense. And so if anyone's watching and you already have a budgie that you're looking to adopt a friend for, maybe one of these birdies could be that friend. And we saw Theo nibbling on the mustard greens. Can you tell us what else these guys like to eat?
Oh, they like any kind of leafy green vegetable. I give them everything I have in my garden. They really like collard greens when they're bolting and like getting the little yellow flowers that look kind of like the mustard you see at the side of the road. They like cilantro, they like parsley, they like basil, they like romaine lettuce, all kinds of leafy greens. And their base diet is, as I mentioned before, nutrient cakes, which is a mix of pellets and seeds. Some kinds of parrots, especially the larger ones, really wouldn't eat seed in the wild, and it might be a nice snack. But for budgies, it's actually a part of their ordinary base diet in the wild. And so we do want to provide them with seeds as part of their daily diet.
That makes sense. And we are near the end of our time here. I know you mentioned your 4-year-old walked by earlier in the video. How are these guys with kids? Are they pretty good with kids?
They are. Danielle is actively friendly with humans of all ages. We don't have any pets other than birds, so I don't know how she is there, but she's so confident and comfortable that I would expect her to really probably thrive in a household that has other kinds of pets as well. Thea doesn't really care for people. She's not at all worried by them. She's not frightened in any way, but she wants to do her budgie thing. So there's really two very different personalities here in this cage. Thea is like, she doesn't at all worry when she sees my daughter walk by or anything, but she also doesn't come running over to get a millet snack out of Eleanor's hand. Whereas Danielle would love to sit on your shoulder and eat a snack from your hand and also go look for a nest anywhere in your house. So it's got to be balanced, but we do have here a super human oriented bird and a very bird oriented bird. So something for everyone.
I imagine it's pretty cute to see Danielle with your 4-year-old.
Yes.
Katie, thank you so much for sharing Danielle and Thea with us. Before I pass the host hat back to you, is there anything else you'd like to share about them?
I just want to say, if anyone noticed earlier, we're looking at from one end of the cage right now, and earlier we were looking from the other end of the cage, and you might have seen that rose toy that Megan showed with Willow, super beaten up and with like half the little roses gone and the other ones sort of hanging on by a thread. So that is a toy made out of palm fronds that a lot of birds of all different sizes seem to love.
Yeah, that seems to be our Mickaboo fan favorite, flock favorite toy. Thank you so much, Katie, for sharing them. And I'm going to pass host back to you.
Great, thanks. And as we do that, I'm getting a reminder from one of our event coordinators that toy is from Planet Pleasures, and you can find it a lot of pet stores. So next we are going to meet Angel, a cockatoo. Just like my budgies, she's coming to us on a pre-recorded video. Hi, Sophia.
Hi.
Here we are looking at Angel. Can you tell us about this little cutie?
Yes, Angel is a Goffins cockatoo, a female, and she is about 25 years old. I picked her up at the shelter, and I don't know that much about her previous life because her owner was in failing health, and either a family member or perhaps a caregiver dropped off Angel at the shelter. So we didn't get a lot of information about her.
Got it. A reminder to our audience as we go, if you have questions about Angel, do type them into the Q&A or comment on Facebook, and we'll do our best to answer them. So we're talking about Angel kind of as a girl, and I tend to think of it, when pronounced that way at least, as a girly name. Do we know for a fact that Angel is a female?
Yes, with cockatoos, you can tell by the color of the iris in their eye. And because the iris of her eye is a brownish color, it could be brownish or reddish in females. We can definitely tell that she's a female. If she was a male, it would be a black iris, and it would be hard to distinguish the pupil from the iris in the eye.
Okay. So in this video, we just got a good look at her eye, and I would have said it was black, but it's not very bright light. So I think that's pretty cool that you can actually tell just by looking at them, just like my budgies.
Yeah, well, the cell phone quality of the video is probably not as good, but you could definitely tell in person. And I have a female umbrella cockatoo, so I'm familiar with cockatoos in the eye color.
Yeah, a lot of this is in just the knowledge that you build over time with these animals. So do we know how well socialized Angel is? I see her looking pretty confident here, and there's a person in the video with her.
Yeah, let me describe that a little bit. So Angel, I've only had her in my house for just over 4 weeks. So she's still in quarantine, like Megan talked about. So this is why she's in an office in this bedroom by herself. She's in quarantine from my other birds. And she happens to be quarantined in my husband's home office. So this is my husband in the video, and she has bonded up with him. She loves him. And she is really friendly. Like he calls her the kissing bandit because she'll come up and put her beak on his lip and surprise him. But she loves to be with people. She is very easy to have out. He'll be working on the computer and she'll just sit on his shoulder the whole time and not, she's quiet and she's happy if she's around her
Wow.
human.
I don't think of cockatoos as being quiet.
As long as she's out, she's quiet. If she's locked in her cage where she doesn't want to be, then she makes noise. But if she's out, she won't make noise. So she's not like I had a friend's conure I used to watch, and it was a really wonderful, nice conure, but it would sit on your shoulder and it would scream right in your ear. And she definitely doesn't do anything like that.
Yeah, I see here she's just like hanging out on his shoulder, supervising his work.
Exactly.
And there she is in the cage looking kind of like, let me out.
Yeah, she's trying that. That's her way of saying, let me out of here. She was really shy when she first came to me, but she warmed up pretty darn quick. So that's her saying, let me out. I'm doing tricks. Let me out.
Yeah, she does that little loop around really fast where she kind of flips around. I see she has a lot of different toys in there, but oh my goodness, she's bouncy.
She loves to hop on the bed. And the reason I didn't have her live is because it's hard to keep her in one spot when she really likes to sit on my husband, but with me, she likes to hop around a lot. So she loves to hop around on the bed. And people might look at her and wonder, well, what about her feathers? What's going on there? So we don't really know if she was fully feathered in her previous home because we don't know a lot about her. But if she was with somebody with failing health and they went into the hospital and she was left alone, she could have started to pick her feathers then. And we really don't know if they'll grow back or not. I haven't had her long enough to know. But she doesn't have any parasites or anything. Her feather loss is all an emotional issue.
Got it. I can see she does have some of the flight feathers on her wings, and we do have an audience question about that. Does she fly?
She doesn't fly. It's more of a hop. So she can kind of jump down. So she might jump down on the floor, or if he's walking around the shoulder and maybe she gets startled by something, she kind of hops off. But even though she has those flight feathers, those are all the feathers that she really has on her wings. So she likes to get spray bottle baths and she'll spread out her wings to get the water. And really you could see the bone structure of her wing and that she only has the full feathers on the very end of her wings.
Got it. What does she like to eat? I feel like we saw maybe some sugar snap peas on a plate earlier or some kind of a green vegetable.
Correct. So when she came from the shelter, they said that she was only eating cockatiel seed. So that would be a really bad diet. And I am transitioning her over to pellets now. So she's still getting some seed with, she likes the Harrison's coarse pepper. And I'm trying to get her interested in vegetables. So I make a big vegetable plate for my husband. And as long as he's eating from the plate, she will also go over there and eat. She loves sugar snap peas. She likes, let's see, mango. And she's eaten some cabbage and maybe chewed on some lettuces. But she will play with the carrots and stuff, but I don't know how much she's really eating.
Yeah.
But she likes to eat what you're eating.
Yeah.
So if you're eating, she will come over here. She'll come to your spoon and try to get whatever's on that you're eating. So
that can be a really powerful tool. And actually that for me personally has broadened the fruits and vegetables I eat, because I've bought some and then tasted them trying to get various parrots that lived in my house to eat them. So
exactly. It can be helpful, because things aren't good for her, like potato chips. Well, if you can't eat potato chips around Angel, then you don't eat them either, which is better for both of you.
Right. Yeah. Eating sugar snap peas instead of potato chips is a win all around.
Exactly. Definitely. She'll help you with your diet too.
Yeah. Awesome. So we've seen Angel like hanging on a shoulder here and bouncing around on the bed. Does she have other favorite activities?
So she is playing with toys now. She will play with toys. She's a little picky about them, but as she settles in more and more, she's playing more and more. So that's good. And she does, when she's in the cage, if you come over and put your finger, she'll stick out her foot to hold onto your finger and then look into your eyes, gaze into your eyes while she does that. So she is really sweet, very sweet bird, and really, really smart. Here's her playing with some toys.
Oh, yeah.
It has, I think there's like a little flower on the end that she's chewed up a few of those. And, you know, we're trying to get her more interested in toys because it's healthy for her.
Yeah, it sounds like she has a lot to learn in terms of maybe being able to entertain herself some and eating different things than just a seed diet that was designed for a smaller bird. And
exactly,
sounds like she's just taking it all in.
Yeah, and she is really, really smart. I've had a lot of birds. She is a really smart bird. Very, very bright. So she learns quickly.
You mentioned earlier that she likes her baths and like a mist shower. Does she require any other special care for her feathers or for any other reason?
No, I mean, she doesn't require any special care, just the conversion to a better diet. And she is definitely healthy. She is full of bounce and playfulness. She's a very healthy bird, despite how she looks. Besides how her, despite how her feathers look, she's very healthy.
Yeah, it's great to hear. Before we move on to our next bird, are there any last things you'd like to tell us about Angel?
She's just a really fun bird with a great personality, looking for a home where she won't be left alone all day, but somebody will be around and to spend time with her. Her ideal home is a home where she can be with her person all the time. And she also likes to dance to music. And so as she started to kind of dance right there in the video,
yeah, a little head bob there.
Yeah, she will sway back and forth and head bob, and she loves it when you sing to her or play music.
Well, she just looks like an enchanting, fun little bird. So I hope that she finds her forever home soon. It sounds like if anyone can look past her feather condition, she just has a lot of great things to offer.
Yes, definitely. She's a great bird. And when you meet her, you really fall in love with her because she's so friendly. And the way she gazes in your eyes is just really, really sweet.
I feel like I'm kind of falling in love with her a little bit here just watching. And she has not even had the chance to gaze into my eyes meaningfully. So
Exactly.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Sophia, for introducing us to Angel.
You're welcome.
Next, we're going to meet Oatmeal, a green cheek conure, and Sarah, who is his foster person. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Katie. How's it going?
Pretty good. Can you introduce us to Oatmeal?
Yes, you can see him on the screen right here. Please meet Oatmeal, the green cheek conure. He is possibly the cutest green cheek conure you have ever met.
Well, and he's got quite a distinctive name. Can you explain that to us?
Yeah, we just really like breakfast cereal. No, it's not something we would recommend, but Mickaboo takes in birds from all kinds of scenarios. And on the day that we received Mickaboo, we received Oatmeal. Sorry, he's yelling, it's distracting me. We received Oatmeal in a cardboard box that was, in fact, an oatmeal container cardboard box. And so there was no bird carrier involved. He was just handed to us, plain and simple, in an oatmeal cardboard box. We don't usually name birds after the containers that they're handed to us in, but in Oatmeal's case, the people who had him said that he was not their bird and they didn't know anything about him, and he didn't have a name. And we needed to come up with one really quick, so we went with Oatmeal.
Got it. I hear you referring to Oatmeal as he. Do we know if Oatmeal is male or female?
We haven't done any DNA testing. We don't usually spend the money on
Yeah.
that unless it's needed for medical reasons. So we're just making a guess.
Got it. Similarly, do we have any idea how old Oatmeal is?
We don't have anything definitive, no, because the people that turned him over to us said that he was not their bird. We're just guessing based on looking at him. We don't think he's super young, just because he's got, it's not very easy to see this angle, but maybe as he walks around, you might see that his legs and his belly and his back are actually quite plucked. So there's no active follicles there or signs of regrowth, even though he doesn't seem to be actively plucking anymore. So we're guessing that he's maybe a few years old. Maybe somebody had him for at least 2-3 years. And over the course of time that was happening. So maybe he's around 5 or maybe a little older. We kind of have to guess, unfortunately.
Okay. A reminder to our audience, give us all your questions in the Q&A tab here in Zoom, if you're watching on Zoom, or in Facebook chat, if you're joining us there. I noticed that Oatmeal's tail is sort of stand out in an unusual way.
Yeah.
What's going on with his posture there?
It's related to his issues that he had when he came into us. He was given over to us because the people found him and said that he was, well, they actually thought he had a broken leg. But it turned out that that was not the issue at all. Once we saw him, he couldn't stand up. He was falling over, lying on his side. And we recognized that as potential poisoning. We got him to the vet, and they put him on a chelation drug, which helps a bird deal with heavy metal poisoning, which is unfortunately something we see fairly regularly. It's very easy for birds to chew on something unsafe, and that could be a type of paint on an item in your home. It could even be their cage, if their cage is sourced from somewhere where, you know, maybe it's a very old cage, or someone had attempted to do a repair or repaint something without paying attention to the paint. Most paints are not parrot safe. You know, they'll have letters ink in them. And if the bird ingests even just a little bit, birds are so small that can quickly become a poisoning situation. So he was very sick, and we were actually quite worried about him for the first couple of days. But he's recovered really well. He was on the chelation drugs for a couple of weeks, and over the course of time, he really rallied, and he's been able to stand up and climb around. And as you can see right now, he's hanging off the bars on the side of his cage, and he's pretty active. You would not have recognized him at the start of this month. We've only had him for just almost 4 weeks, and he couldn't even stand up. So he still has some issues. His right side is a little weaker. His right foot, he mainly uses the front toes. The back toes don't grip as well. So his tail fans out, and that's kind of, it's neurological damage that is part of the metal poisoning issue. So he doesn't have full motor control completely. So you'll see him sometimes kind of wobble as he moves, and his tail fanning out is kind of related to that as well. He's not in complete control of his movements at all times.
Okay. So this is a question I usually ask at the end of an interview, but I feel like it comes in well now. What kind of special care does Oatmeal need? Well,
we're hoping that the answer to that is going to be very little in the long run. The first couple of weeks that we had him, he was living in a hospital tank, which is just a simple acrylic tank with a soft liner at the bottom. We've upgraded him after his recheck at the vet. They said, yeah, you can try him out in a small cage with a soft liner. So you can see we've got a flannel liner at the bottom. We're still keeping that in there because he does fall sometimes. He's fallen a couple of times recently that I've watched him. But he is really doing well in this. And I think we could probably upgrade him to something with a little bit more space so that we could put a little bit more enrichment in it for him and give him a little bit more to explore around safely. I think it would be good to keep the base raised so that if he does fall, he's not falling far.
Got it.
But he's really doing great in this one. So I think probably a relatively normal cage would work, but you may need a soft liner in it, and you might need to add in a few shelf perches or flat perches to give him something that he can kind of sit down on from time to time.
Mm-hmm. And I see he does have a couple perches like that wooden triangle one in the back and the little black one in the front.
Yeah. It just, when he sleeps, he likes to go up under the one at the back, so he can kind of lay down on it a little bit, because his feet don't grip as well as they could.
Mm-hmm. And I know he also has that same rose bouquet toy.
He does, although he has not played with his so much. He's shown more interest in the toy closer to the front there. He's been nibbling.
I see like parts of the wood are colored, and then there are parts that are not, but I presume that he's been chewing on it.
Yeah, well, I think they're alternating natural and colored as well, but he has been, he likes the soft balsa, so the corners are starting to erode as he spends time with it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Got it. What is Oatmeal eating?
He's doing really well, actually. We've got him eating Harrison's pellets. I was started off on Abbey cakes, which have a sort of mix that, like the Nutrient cakes, it's a mix of pellet and seed. And I offered him some Harrison pellets just for my fingers, and he likes them. So we've been slowly balancing the ratio so that he's now got more Harrisons than anything else in his dish. Mm-hmm. He's also a really good veggie eater, and I'm kind of hoping I can give you a demonstration if he's interested. Are you in the mood for a bit of carrot, Oatmeal? Do you want to eat some carrot? Show everyone how good you are with your veggies? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Having a little nibble.
Yeah, I mean, if you hand him something, he'll almost certainly try it. So I've just been offering him. He's very friendly, so offering him stuff from your hands is a great way to get him to take a bite and try it out. I've been offering him sugar snap peas and broccoli and other veggies, and he tends to get into it. So yeah, his diet's it's pretty good already.
And I see he's at least somewhat tame. He's pretty happy to have you stick your hand in there with a.
He's very tame. I mean, he may or may not want to. Do you want to do a burrito? Do you want to? Sometimes he does. Sometimes he kind of. He's hanging on right now. You don't want a burrito right now? You want some scritches? You want scritches instead?
Oh yeah.
Sometimes if you put your hand flat out, he just kind of steps onto it and lies down on his belly. I have a feeling that whoever had him before maybe wasn't aware that you should kind of be careful when handling birds and mainly just touch them on their head and their feet. I have a feeling that they were probably kind of doing too much of the cuddling all over contact, which is possibly why he's got hormonal pattern plucking on his belly and his back and his legs. So he's very used to being on hands, and he'll often step right up onto my hand. He's still on some medication, and I don't have to use a towel to give it to him. I just pick him up and scoop him up in my hands, and he just kind of drinks it out of the syringe very, very well. So he's super friendly. He will nip. I mean, green cheeks are nippy. And when he's excited, or also for him, sometimes he just uses his beak to sort of stabilize himself on you. So he will hang on with his beak a little bit more than you might expect. And he's nipped me. I wouldn't say he's bitten me. He hasn't drawn blood, but he's nipped me a few times when I'm trying to maneuver him and he wants to do something else.
Got it. So we're about out of time, but are there any last things you'd like to tell us about Oatmeal? He sounds like some of the other birds we've talked about today. He will require some hormone management, and he's open to eating vegetables and pretty comfortable with people.
Yeah, check out some pictures. We'll share a few to see, so you can see his plucking. He's probably always going to have a bare belly. Come on, Oatmeal, you're gonna let us show off your bare belly? We want to let people see what your belly looks like. No,
he's just hanging on there. I can see that foot. He's just grabbing on.
Talking about how friendly he is. He's like, well, it may be that he can't actually open it. I mean, sometimes he does.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh, you're moving it now. Okay. Well, yeah. So his feathers on his belly and his back will probably never grow back. But
Got it.
like he's so friendly and sweet, and I mean, you can probably hear him squeaking away. He loves to
Mhm.
have little sweet conversations with you. I haven't heard him talk, but he just wants your attention all of the time. And he's very happy if you kind of pick him up and put him down on your chest and just scratch his head. He'll do that for as long as you're willing to sit there and carry on. So he's very friendly, and he's definitely into people. He'll want you to take him everywhere you go and spend time with him. So
Okay.
you'd have to figure out how to fit him into your life.
Got it. To that point, we do have an audience question here before we move on. Does he scream much or contact call when there's nobody there?
He hasn't been too bad. He has not done a lot of the high-pitched contact calling that I've seen with some other green-cheeked conures. But that said, there are other birds in my house who are usually vocalizing, so he can yell across the room at them as well. And he can ambiently see me walking around, and whenever I do go past, I do acknowledge him, and that's important. I think it's not nice to sort of be ignored, so anytime that I am going by him, I'm definitely saying hi and hello on the way as I go by if I can't stop. But yeah, I haven't heard a lot of the super high frequency pitch noises that I've heard from other green-cheeked conures. I don't want to. Oh, but he's regurgitating right now. Did you see that?
Yeah, that quick head bob.
Yeah, he's looking away from you, so it's not so obvious, but he's doing a big regurgitation right now. He can be hormonal, and sometimes when I pick him up, he'll do that on my hand, and when that happens, I just have to put him back in the cage and let him get over it. Yeah.
Hormone management.
Hormones, man. It's that time of year.
It is. Welcome to March, everybody. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for introducing us to Oatmeal. It's clear he's got his challenges, just like every bird we're meeting today, but he's also a very charming little fellow.
He sure is.
Next, we are going to meet a little flock of Mickaboo budgies. Hi, Peggy. Can you introduce us to these budgies? I see, let's see, 1, 2, maybe 3 in frame right now. I believe there's a total of 5 in the cage. Well, maybe it looks like Peggy, who's fostering these budgies, might still be getting off mute. Oh, here she comes. Hi, Peggy. Can you introduce us to these budgies?
I can. So the budgie up top is Bethie. The one clinging to the back of the cage that's like a powder blue is Buddy. The one below him that's yellow with black on the wings is Tweety. And Buddy and Tweety are a pair. The next one down, who's pure yellow and looks like a canary, is Shauna. And the one lowest down, who looks like she's cleaning her beak, is little Lou.
Little Lou.
Lou.
Do we know if these budgies are male or female?
They're all female. This year it seems like we have a bunch of them.
Yeah. How old are they? Do we know?
We do not know. Shauna had been surrendered with a companion who passed shortly thereafter. Tweety and Buddy were surrendered together, and Lou and Bethie each came from different shelters. So the best I can do is from behavior is that Buddy and Tweety are younger because they fly around and play more.
Got it.
Yeah.
We have an audience question about them, and this might get at the flock dynamics here a little bit. Can they be adopted separately?
I would adopt Buddy and Tweety together because they came in as a pair, and they're definitely together. The others would be available separately.
In general,
they're not bonded together.
Yeah. In general, we're going to want to make sure any adoptive home has at least 2 budgies. budgies live in huge flocks in the wild, and you can see some neat footage of them if you do a quick little YouTube search. But you could mix and match. They don't, these particular ones, other than Tweety and Buddy, don't need to be adopted together. Are they tame?
Well, surprisingly, one day Lou likes that little lower perch there. And one morning when I was feeding for yucks, I put my hand up and she stepped right up.
Oh, that's a nice surprise.
Yeah, I was like really surprised. And
That's
the other
great.
day, she got startled and she ended up kind of on the side of the cage, and I put my finger out and she stepped up and I was able to give her a ride up to one of the other perches, and she was perfectly happy letting me do that. Now, Lou has, since she came from a shelter and we don't know her background, she hardly has any tail feathers. So sometimes that happens if the bird was attacked, got out and got captured by a cat or something, and you give up your tail feathers because you get to live, and so that's a possibility. They are starting to grow back now, but because she doesn't have them, she's not a great flyer.
Got it. What does this little flock like to eat? I spot some millet spray in here and maybe some green vegetables. I see something green anyway. So their primary diet is Nutri-Ann cakes, which again is a mixture of seed and pellet. And then in the bottom of the cage, I give them a salad bowl, which has lettuce and kale and broccoli and carrots and whatever I've got going in the kitchen. I hang parsley or cilantro. The millet is a treat because they're on video today, and they came over to eat it when I first hung it about 15 minutes ago, and now they've lost interest, I guess. But they like to have their produce hung. They eat it much better when it's hanging on a clothespin or a clip of some sort. So back where Lou is, Lou's been nibbling that piece of kale back there. And they like the food. We hang the broccoli up, and it's so I have like 6 little hooks of different things up, and in the morning I don't even get the food bowls in the bottom, and they're all somewhere nibbling. Yeah, so they're different than my Danielle, who wants her greens in a bowl at the bottom of the cage. And these ones like having them hung.
And the other thing that is very, very curious is about a week and a half ago, I was having lunch and we were having apple and cheese and crackers. And I thought, well, I cut up a piece of apple and I gave it to my dog. I'm going to cut up a couple pieces and hang them for the birds and see what they ate it. Now, I've taken care of budgies for Mickaboo for, I don't know, maybe 5 years now. I've had a bird of my own or birds of my own for probably close to 10 years before that. I had birds growing up. I have never had a budgie eat fruit. Never.
Yeah, come to think of it,
They're not big fruit eaters. But surprise, whether they ate it or they just, chewed it to bits and dropped it on the bottom, they tasted it. It was like, wow.
Cool. Birds. Yeah. They're always surprising us. So what else, what are these budgies' other typical behaviors? Sounds like they have a lot of things they like to eat. I see a lot of different toys and perches in this cage too.
Yeah, so they play with their perches. Bethie's a little shyer. So again, she came from a shelter. We don't know what her background is. And she tends to hang out near the mirrors more so than the other birds do. The others tend to do a little more interacting. And Shauna, who lost her, she lost her home, she lost her friend when she came here, is just in the past week or so really starting to come out of her shell a little bit more. And so she'll stay close to me if I'm by the side of the cage putting food in. She'll stay there. She'll chirp for me. But they do play with their things. They love their swings. They're real big on the swing. And they like their boing, which is the circular perch in the foreground.
Got it. Yeah, that spiral rope perch. Yeah, they all started moving around all of a sudden just a minute ago. Did something happen, or just they decided it was a good time to have a stretch break?
I think it's a good time.
Yeah, I see a lot of bells in there too. Do they like making the bells ring?
No, actually they don't, which is
Huh.
surprising. I think some of that, and even with the mirrors, they don't spend a lot of time with the mirrors. They do have a couple of them. And I think it's because they do have friends. They have other birds in there to socialize with. So therefore there goes Tweety with the millet.
Oh yeah, I see that.
Yeah. Because if I have a single budgie, if I'm fostering it like it and it's in quarantine or something, then I always make sure they have mirrors so they have a friend. But when I have multiples, I don't always even I put them in sometimes, but as long as they have friends, they don't tend to care.
Yeah. Yeah, budgies really need friends. They're so social, and they're going to be happy to be friends with you humans, at least some of them, but they need their budgie friends for sure. Makes a big difference in their happiness and their quality of life.
Yeah.
Do any of these budgies need any special care?
The only one of these I'm keeping an eye on right now is Lou. Right now I have 5 in this cage. When they came to me, there was a 6th who came with the girl's name, with a question mark, with the boy's name after it. So that was Nellie, who became Andrew, because when the bird came to me, it was so young, and because of its coloring. We were talking about how to tell boys and girls apart. The lighter the colors, budgies in the wild tend to be green. And all these different colorings are something we introduced by crossbreeding, we people. And so the lighter they get, they lose the coloring, not only in their feathers, they lose it in their cere. So if you have a green budgie with that bright blue cere, you know it's a boy. But if you get one that's mostly white, you don't know. Well, Lou, it turned out Lou and Andrew became really good friends. And at first it was like, oh, this is cute. And they were feeding each other and they were snuggling. And then one day I came in and I was talking to them, and the 2 of them were in the corner of the cage on the bottom, and they went running across the bottom and they watched me and climb up, and Lou laid an egg.
So
yes. So Andrew has been removed from the cage. And he's by himself right now, and he's going to be relocated to another foster home that has a cage full of boys.
Got it. Yeah.
And so that's going to happen tomorrow. And Luce laid 1 additional egg and has not laid another since Andrew has been removed. So I'm just keeping an eye on her to make sure that continues to be the case. She hasn't seemed to have any of the behaviors that would indicate she's going to lay another.
Okay.
So that's that, and I'm making sure her tail grows back.
Yes, sounds like she definitely needs some special attention right now.
Yeah, so it's mostly watching. It's not like she needs medication or anything like that. It's just
just making sure that the environment is really good for her continued health. So we're about ready to wrap up now, but before we do, are there any last things you'd like to tell us about this little flock?
Well, I've had girl budgies before, and I've had some that really either didn't get along with anybody else, or sometimes didn't even get along with each other. And these 4 are really nice, mellow birds, and would great addition. You know, again, Tweety and Buddy, I'd like to have adopted together because they are a pair. But the others are very, very mellow, and I think they would be a great addition to anybody's flock.
Well, maybe their new people are watching today. We can hope anyways. So thank you, Peggy, for introducing us to your flock of girls. They make a terrific last act for this virtual adoption fair. Thank you.
Thank you.
So that's all the birds that we have time to meet today, but we do have time for a few more questions. So please do let us know in the Q&A tab or in the Facebook chat if you have more questions about the birds we met today. And if you fell in love with any of these birds, please do contact us. If you haven't started the adoption process, you can start by signing up for a basic bird care class. It takes place every few weeks, and there is a schedule on our website, so you can take a look. And if none of these birds seemed like the right bird, do take a look at the others on our website. As I mentioned, we have about 450 birds waiting for forever homes, and they all are just as lovely and just as deserving of the few that we were able to showcase today. Just a few more things before we sign off. First of all, thank you for attending today's event. If you have feedback, we will be sharing a survey with you, so please do take that and let us know what you think. If you'd like to join us for some other upcoming events, we're going to have another virtual adoption fair on Sunday, April 24th at 1 p.m. And there we're going to look back at some birds who were featured in previous adoption fairs who have not yet been adopted. We're also having some in-person events in April, which is super exciting after the last couple of years. We will be at the Oakland Zoo with a few of our volunteers and a few of our birds on April 16th in recognition of Earth Day. And we will be at UC Davis Picnic Day on April 23rd, again with a few of our volunteers and a few of our birds. You can see all of these events on our website on the events page. Second, do you remember what I said at the beginning about being a donation-funded, all-volunteer nonprofit? A number of the birds that you met here today have benefited from the veterinary care that they needed that makes up part of that $45,000 to $55,000 a month in vet fees. So if you can donate to help support us, the link is right, oh, no, other hand, right up here, mickaboo.org/donate. And once again, yeah, don't try to deal with virtual green screens, Katie. If you do have any ideas or comments about how we can improve for next time, do mention them in the Q&A tab in our survey, or send us an email. We're always looking to improve. And last, and probably most important, thanks to all of the foster parents and birds and other volunteers who joined in today's event to make it a success so that we could share these birds and share our work at Mickaboo with you, our audience. Please stick with us through the credits and you can see who all these wonderful volunteers are. And we'll keep monitoring the Q&A and the chat for a bit longer in case you have any questions that we haven't answered yet. Until next time, thank you and goodbye. And now let's see the credits.